everybody, it's 9:43. We're going up to a high of 9 degrees today. It's going to be lovely. And, oh, we've got an announcement that's in that Canadian Scrapbooker magazine that we'll be announcing in just a second here. But Allison Orthner, our scrapbooking queen, is in with us this morning, along with Trisha Ladouceur, all the way from Edmonton. And you're talking today about acrylic photo albums. So this is apparently a big new trend. You can see them right here. Let me just turn them properly so that Kevin can get a shot of those.
So yeah, this is one of the hottest trends in scrapbooking right now. And it is, instead of working with paper as your base in your albums, you're working with clear acrylic. And it's a very funky, new, unique way of showcasing photos. But there are some little tricks. So this is what it looks like, for example. There's a lot of different companies that make these. This is Page Frames. We have Prima, Rusty Pickle, Clear Snaps. Like, there's a whole bunch because it's the hot thing. So it kind of comes clear like this, or as Trisha's showing, with a coating on it. So, you know, of course, I try to do it. So I started, and this is my, this is a half-done one, and I realized, uh-oh, there are some tricks when you can see through all the different layers. There are some definite tricks and techniques that you need to be aware of, and I didn't know. So,
okay. So the expert. So how did you two meet if you're from Edmonton?
I was actually the coordinator for the Edmonton chapter of Canada's Scrapbooking Crop for Kids last year, and Allison came up and helped us out with our event actually as a volunteer and helped to promote it.
So it's across Canada, 6 major cities across Canada all did a scrapbooking event to raise money for children's hospitals. And as they announced in Canadian Scrapbooker's new issue, just over $91,000 was raised across Canada. So
you can read about that in here.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So Trisha, that's how I met Trisha.
Okay, so Trisha, since you're the pro, you're the expert on this stuff, let us know how you do this. What are
let's get started. There's a few things you really need to keep in mind. Obviously, when working with clear, you need to be aware of what types of adhesives you're using. So you want to make sure that you're going to use an adhesive that's not going to show a great big sticky tab
on the other side.
On the other side.
Right, okay.
So I tend to favor craft dots or glue dots of some sort. And the key with those is when you're working with overlays or transparencies, you want to try to place the glue dot behind the printed portion rather than the clear portion of the overlay so that it disguises it a little bit.
That makes sense.
All right. There's also different clear liquid adhesives. These work really well for holding on heavier embellishments. It's almost like a hot glue gun glue, but in a bottle. Okay. And of course, scrapbooking, you want to keep in mind acid-free if you're really worried about it. These are all safe.
Okay.
I'm never a stickler, though.
So we'll show a little sample here, too. So you can see, obviously, because you've got the see-through, you see both sides of the album as you're turning your pages, so that's why you want to make sure your adhesive is something that's not going to be really obvious that you see as you're flipping through the album.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the adhesive, and there's, like I say, the dots, the tape, the actual liquid glue, those work well.
Okay.
You also want to keep in mind the type of pen or ink that you're using to do your journaling or your doodling on, or stamping for that matter. You have to make sure that you're using inks that are made for non-porous surfaces. Okay. So a gel pen, for example, that you'd use on your paper won't necessarily work on here. It's not going to dry or it's not going to set. So these ones will actually work. They are actually designed for working with products that are non-porous.
The 3D ones.
Yeah, these ones are clear, and there's also a glaze. I used a glaze pen that gives this transparent look here, which is kind of fun. It's kind of like a stained glass effect, right? So again, that's an ink that's designed for working with non-porous surfaces, which is why it works so well on the clear plastic.
Okay, all right. What about like a Sharpie? Will a Sharpie
A Sharpie will work as well, and Sharpie now comes in, you know, a million and one different colors. So those are pretty good as well.
So just to reiterate, for stamping, which is really fun to do on these too, you want to make sure it's the stays on, not some of the other, you know, ones that will smear and smudge. They won't set. On. Yeah, the stays on is the ink. All right.
All right.
Okay. So this morning we're going to do, just to walk you through a couple of really quick techniques, we're going to do a little 6x6 page, all right, and it's double-sided. So when working with the patterned paper, Most pattern papers by manufacturers today come double-sided, which works really well with these clear albums because it's already showing through on the back.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're able to, half the work is done for you on the back side of the page.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
right.
a lot of companies are now making double-sided paper. It's just all the color coordination is done for you. It's kind of idiot-proof.
I like that. I like that.
like it.
Now, a fun technique real quick, too, before we get started. A lot of these photos, you'd notice, were printed on overlays or transparencies right at home, as opposed to printing your photos on photo paper. To stick with the clear idea with the album, you can actually get inkjet or laser copier overlays or transparencies that you can print your photos out onto before you adhere them in your books. So they're kind of fun to work with when you're working with a strictly clear theme. If you're working with paper, of course, once you stick something behind it, you lose part of the image. So you're best to try to either stick with a very subtle pattern or have nothing behind the photo and maybe do a mat around it.
Okay.
But today, because we're working with paper, we're going to bypass the photo part.
Okie dokie.
And if we have time, we can go back to it. So in front of you, ladies, I've given you both the clear frame, okay, and a set of glue dots. So what we're going to do, just to keep it simple, to start, this is decorative tape. Again, another great idea with the clear albums.
Love this stuff. Thank you, Prima.
So it's just tape that has
It's Scotch tape, and it's got a decorative element, so it's going to save a little bit of work. So all I did is put a little strip up along the edge of the page. So
okay, we have 1 minute. Okay, so up
1 minute.
along where these are?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
Something like that. It may not be perfect
There you
today.
can see.
Okay.
Well, because it's just like Scotch tape, it's removable, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. If you don't like it. So then using your glue dots, here I'll kind of do part of it. You can get just a couple on the back. You do not need a lot of adhesive with these. All right. Just 1 or 2 on the back is all you need. Not necessarily right at the edge because you know, you're going to have a bit of your border showing through at the other side. So you always want to think 1 step ahead when working with clear and think about what's going to show through on the other side.
Okay. We have 20 seconds.
Oh, well, we're probably not going to finish this page.
I don't think we're going to finish this.
A little bit of bling. There's a ton of embellishments that obviously work extremely well with these albums, and the sky's the limit.
Bottom line, you just have to make sure that you're working with the adhesives that don't show on the other side.
Well, the adhesives, and don't be afraid to play. That's what it boils down to.
Play around.
And remember that it's see-through.
Yeah, exactly.
So you might want to plan and play a little bit. You know, then you've got on the back, and you notice how you can still see a little bit of the flower. It's very fun to play with.
Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Trisha Ladouceur, and of course you can always go to AllisonOrthner.com if you want to find out what's happening in the world of scrapbooking. Thanks.
Thank you.